Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at disneyplus.com with my thoughts on the new Marvel Echo series. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. So today, Disney released all 5 episodes of Echo, a brand new series which focuses on Maya Lopez, aka Echo, who we saw introduced in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. And this series sees her heading back to Oklahoma to be with her family after all the events that happened in New York, basically all the stuff that happened in Hawkeye, where she shot Kingpin. And from there, we kind of see, how the character develops. We learn a little bit more about her history, especially her history with Kingpin. And we also see her kind of moving away from Kingpin's criminal empire. So this is going to be a spoiler review. I did manage to watch the first 3 episodes before Christmas, and then this morning when they dropped, I watched the final 2 episodes because unfortunately we weren't able to see them there. And it was kind of a weird one because in some ways I had a little bit of a break between it, and it was kind of weird because this morning when I put on the 4th episode and I did the recap thing, I thought actually this is useful because I could do a little quick recap. But then I did think afterwards, why did I do the recap stuff on like a 5 episode series that most people are probably going to end up binging anyway? I just felt like that. Do you need recaps and stuff? And this is just a separate thing that I did wonder of. The episodes seem to be getting shorter as we got to the final. And if you take out the credits, and if you take out the intro, and if you take out the skip recap bit, it was coming in at about 3 hours long anyway between the the 5 episodes. We're probably barely 2.5 to 3 hours long of this series altogether, but it's an extended movie. So that was part of it. So, thoughts on the series as a whole. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I definitely thought the first 3 episodes were stronger with the build-up. I'm not entirely sure if it'll hit the landing. There were some issues that I had with that ending, but I enjoyed the expansion of this character, and I can't help but feel like if this was put in front of Marvel today, I don't think this series would have been made. It feels like this was an extension of the MCU, which in all honesty, I don't think they needed to do. It was nice that they did, and I think it's good that the character had some time to shine, but I do not see them getting a second season. I mean, unless the ratings are really high, I don't know. This feels like a series that was just unnecessary, and but it allowed them to take some risks and do some little different stuff. So it is a mature show, and therefore it's got a lot of violence in it. It's kind of weird. I mean, some of the violence obviously does feel a bit more in line with what we've seen with the Daredevil series. I didn't really think the finale had that much violence in it. It kind of, there was this big epic fight between everyone. They all just punched each other and it was over within seconds, and she passed her powers on to her grandmother and her cousin, and they were able to fight, and then you kind of had a weird Power Ranger moment where suddenly all of her ancestors come in. I just thought that was I didn't like it. I just thought it just didn't. I wanted to see a fight between Kingpin and Maya. Now I kind of was hoping Kingpin was going to win because he needed to. I think they needed to build him up, and I think this series did that job really well. They've kind of reformatted Kingpin away from what he was in the Hawkeye series, where he was a bit wimpy. Now we've established that those Daredevil series and the Netflix stuff is actually part of the main sacred timeline and is part of the MCU, which always was that kind of feeling of to me was always the case because they referenced what happened in New York, but it was just happening away from it, and it just makes sense to include it because it's separate enough, and I think it's better if they're going to be carrying on with these stories, continuing it on. So I did like the fact that they kind of rebuilt the Kingpin, the whole thing with her being able to heal him to get his eye back. Convenient, convenient to kind of put him back to where reset to where he should be. That was everything with the powers. Now I've never read an Echo comic, so I do know that the powers from the comic books have been drastically changed, where she was more like a mimic, where she was a bit like Taskmaster. This kind of weird thing of she's inherited these powers, but when she can use them and stuff. It's okay. I mean, it's convenient. convenient than you could. But yeah, I wasn't so keen on that. I don't know if, like, did they need that? There was that whole thing at the beginning when I did actually question if I was watching the right show, because we had that like flashback to like when like some aliens arrived on the planet, and yeah, that was a bit weird. When they say it was a grounded show, that was not really how I expected it to be grounded, was aliens and kind of weird. Yeah, that was it. I did love the whole kind of representation of Native American culture, the music in here, the aspects of it being not set in New York, not being set in Atlanta or anything like that. I did like having a little bit of a refresh. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that aspect of it being something different within the MCU, a different location. I think that worked really well. I enjoyed that aspect to it. But yeah, just seeing her family, it was definitely a good show. The whole thing, like obviously with like subtitles, I thought they did a good job of how they presented it with, you know, like the conversations with, so it wasn't all just sign language. I thought the weird thing with like the Kingpin, where they had like the contact lens, where that was kind of cool. I liked that tech, but it was very convenient. It would have been maybe more convenient had they put it in, if they put that in episode 1 and then he just left that there, that would have been kind of maybe interesting to kind of do stuff. But yeah, I thought that was definitely an interesting aspect to it. Overall, like I enjoyed the show. I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. That it wasn't perfect. It was better than I was maybe expecting, because there's been a lot of rumblings that this series has had to go for a lot of rewrites, a lot of changes, and that's why it was cut back and all the rest of it. And I can see where that might have happened. The first episode kind of felt like a recap of Daredevil and Hawkeye, and that was most of it. But overall, I enjoyed it. Am I going to watch it again? Is it that kind of thing? I don't know if I will. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think the 5 drop, what they did today, was a good thing. That's allowing that story just to get out there. It can breathe. It can do its own thing. I think it's small enough that a binge is perfect, because it's barely just, like I said, over a movie. But I think also that this now means that they've got, essentially, we've got Deadpool 3 in July, and then we've got Agatha in the fall. We've now got a nice run. So we've got a good 6+ months, not including X-Men and animated stuff. But this is going to give everyone a little bit of breathing time. And I think doing it the way they have sort of stopped it from being stretched out. Now, I loved the scene in this show with Daredevil. I thought that was great. Really enjoyed that aspect to it. Seeing him back in his kind of red suit. But I think there's going to be a lot of fans that may be disappointed that he's barely in it. But again, it was a little cameo. I think they definitely use that more. It definitely feels like a Kingpin. He was, in those last 2 episodes, he was a major character in it. There's no disputing that. They really have set him up in there. I did love the post-credit scene with them setting up him becoming, going for mayor in the new Daredevil series. This whole thing with the Marvel, it's like spotlight showcase kind of thing. It's like, you know, this is a grounded thing that it's not connected to the MCU, but we've connected it to previous shows and we're setting up the next show. I don't know. I mean, you probably could watch this and not have seen other stuff, but I guess they're not this is not connected to the Avengers movies or Eternals or anything like that. But overall, I did enjoy it. There's definitely, it's a good show. There's some good elements to it. I think the ending with her kind of just having a meal with her family, and it's kind of weird because the way they kept, you know, like you've seen her since she was a kid and now she's like in her 20s, 30s. Like you've missed all of this. Like there's not, I don't know, just felt like suddenly like she wants to protect her family when she's had nothing to do with them for so long. Just seemed a little bit like overstretched. It would have been nice that they at least maybe connected a little bit in between. I like the dynamic between Maya and also the Kingpin. I thought that was good. And as I said, overall, it was good. There were some issues with it. There was little bits and pieces I did question of like why we needed it. But I don't know. Like, are we going to see Echo again? Is she going to turn up in Daredevil Born Again as a character for a week? Maybe that's right. I don't know. I just don't know if this character is... I definitely can't see them doing a second season. I just feel like it's going to be interesting how the ratings and stuff go. But overall, I thought it was good. It was a lot better than I was expecting. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, it's that kind of thing of, I definitely just don't see these kind of things happening so much. But I'm really glad they took the risk, did something a little bit different. But this, again, comes down to that thing of, Marvel being able to expand and do stuff is good. At the same time, it does open them up to kind of watering down. You know, this was a much cheaper show for them to make, a little bit, but that's not a bad thing. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. It did have some problems. Wasn't entirely sure. I think the ending was a little bit weak. Maybe a bigger battle between them, and just kind of setting that she kind of like healed Kingpin's like history. I don't know. It just felt a little bit weak. I would have much preferred a bigger ending to that. But overall, good show. Really liked it. But let us know what you think. Did you enjoy Echo? Did you not enjoy it? Well, why didn't you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments below. Remember to go check us out over at what's on at disneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe, and I shall see you guys soon. Laters.